Welcome in to another live edition of Betting Weekly Fast Break. I'm Sara Civian, joined by professional handicapper Albert Nyguyen. We'll get into all of the moves from the WNBA trade deadline yesterday and preview the slate of games ahead of us this weekend. But first, we got some big NBA news today. The Celtics have signed head coach Joe Mazzulla to a multi-year extension. This obviously doesn't come as some huge surprise, given the success the team has had, including a championship in his 2 full seasons behind the bench. Do you think this gives them some stability with so many moving parts this offseason?
Yeah, I think this is a great move. Obviously, Joe Mazzulla is the championship winning coach. He has great. He's a great X's and O's guys. I think like for those who don't follow the Celtics closely, and Sarah, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but he did, in my opinion, struggle a little bit that first year out, especially in the first half of the season. But man, he took it on really quickly, got so much better. The staff around him is amazing, and we already know about the Celtics injuries, all the people that they traded. So it's not a lost year for them. Like you and I have talked about this before, Sarah, but I actually think they're undervalued in the market right now because the Boston infrastructure is there. But to answer your question, this is a great move by Joe Mazzulla and the team. It's a win-win for both sides.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you about the beginning of his career. And you have to understand that, like, he was not expecting to jump into that position so quickly. And he had to take a little time to adapt, especially with kind of the drama surrounding all of that. But he's such a unique guy. I mean, he's one of the youngest coaches, and he's the youngest to win a championship since Bill Russell in 69.
Wow.
So that's pretty great. I don't know. I just, his philosophy is so unique. Rhode Island guy, just lives and breathes the Celtics. And I love watching interviews with him. You can just tell how much the time and effort he puts into this. He's a different guy, and it really works for the Celtics.
Yeah, he's a great, spokesperson for the team and the franchise. He's a great face of the franchise. And your superstar right now is her and Jason Tatum, but you guys don't lack, in my opinion, in terms of like personalities, talent, things like that. And Joe Mazzulla is one of them. So good move on his part for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they still got Peyton Pritchard, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, hopefully Al Horford. I mean, they still got some hoopers. They got the structure, like you said. What do you think's a realistic projection for them next year?
I mean, I think they're making the playoffs 100%. And I wouldn't be surprised if they sneak into the top 4, top 5 and get home court because everybody is writing them out. And for those who are, meeting me for the first time or listening to this show for the first time, I'm a very contrarian bettor, especially in the futures market. So when you see the Celtics making all these moves, post the Jason Tatum injury, you would expect them to just throw this year away, and everyone's gonna be pounding and fading the Celtics, right? A lot of bettors like to say, how XYZ team usually dominates. Well, this is the one year where everybody dominates them for 1 year, right? And I just don't see that with Boston because it's still going to be tough to go into Boston and win, right, for opposing road teams. So, in my opinion, they're going to have a winning home record. And then if they play 500 basketball on the road, that's good enough, in my opinion, to be at least a 6th seed in the East. And so my projection is, potentially top 4, most likely top 6 seed, and a, really good chance to upset whoever they play in that first round.
I know. To your point, they're at Bet Rivers plus 295 behind only the Knicks to win the Atlantic. I mean, that seems like somewhat realistic. I could get behind that wager. I do want to see how Pritchard handles a bigger role.
Yeah, we know Payne Pritchard coming off a 6th Man of the Year award-winning season. He was great last year. Every time they gave him the, more opportunity to shoot, to play make, he was able to step up. But you're right. Now opposing defenses now are gonna scheme against him and scout him pretty hard. So we'll see how he does. I think he's gonna do, completely fine. I think he's a starting guard caliber player in this league. And so I'm not worried about him. It's really the depth, in my opinion, on the front line. It used to be such a big, plus or big proponent when Boston plays other teams is, that front line, has a lot of veteran savviness, has a lot of shot making ability to stretch as a five, and then you could play like Jalen Brown or Jason Tatum as a four. I mean, that's what created a lot of matchup problems for other teams. But now they're going to lose some of those pluses in the margins, and so we'll see how they do. I'm not worried about the guards at all.
Great take there. And if you like what you hear on our shows, sign up for our newsletter, get exclusive tips and the free Insider magazine. Sign up for free, guys, for free. It's free at bettingweeklystudios.com. I don't know why you wouldn't do that. If you haven't already, jump on that. All right, the WNBA trade deadline is officially behind us. And per usual, there weren't a ton of moves. This is one of those things where it's like, well, duh, there are only so many teams. And I read that the union is also pursuing a soft salary cap model in the upcoming CBA. So this could be the last year of like a snooze deadline, but still, we got a few juicy deals to go over, Albert, so we will. We got the league leading Lynx leaned into their defense first style and acquired Dejanay Carrington from the Wings for Diamond Miller, the injured Carly Samuelson, and a 2027 second round pick. What's your take on the biggest deal of the deadline?
I mean, it's interesting because Dejanay couldn't play much for Dallas, which is, arguably the worst team in the league. And she was closing the game out for the best team in the league in her first game for Minnesota. So that's very interesting. But the fit is going to be really good for Minnesota because before this move, they did lack some perimeter athleticism and quickness, and Dejanay gives them that. But this was a really weird trade deadline. I mean, there were a couple moves, but 80% of the league are free agents. I don't think people realize that because they're still negotiating this huge, CBA that's going to be dropping soon. All the agents are like, well, let's not sign any contracts right now because you're about to 10x your salary, not 10x, but let's say 2 or 3x your salary. Let's wait until all that dust settles before we sign, contracts with your new team. So from a trading perspective, it was actually really weird to see. Probably the most unique trade deadline in league history because so many players are free agents this year.
Right, that's a great point. And this upcoming CBA talk really does matter so much when you talk about all the happenings of the WNBA, the teams expanding, even like contracts being signed in general on like a micro and a macro scale. But this move itself, it's like the Lynx, that's exactly what I want to see from them, right? I feel like when you talk about the best teams, the Lynx and the Liberty always have these like, you can cut off their arm and they'll grow it back. There's so many depth players and kind of unique facets of the team where it's kind of the Lynx maybe felt like they had to do something with Collier out for maybe a few weeks. And I kind of like that they actually sucked it up and did something. I feel like they are always maybe one or two impact players behind.
Yeah, I do like this move. And I think Nafisa's injury is going to be a little blessing in disguise for this team, right? Because we know she's going to be MVP. We know for this year, she's been the best player. She's not only scoring at a great clip and great efficiency, but she's playing awesome individual defense, blocking shots, getting steals. She is by far, and I include Asia in that. But Nafisa right now has been the best player just because she's been available. And the fact that she's out for a couple weeks, it could be 4 to 5 games max, which is not much, but it allows the rest of the team to kind of step up and fill in, what they would be missing in her shoes. And so I think it's a blessing in disguise. She's going to be much fresher in 2 to 3 weeks, and she'll be ready for the postseason run. I like Minnesota. Our colleague Doug, I've been on a couple shows with him. He's not so bullish on Minnesota's chances when it comes to the championship. We know they're a great regular season team, but I'm going to push back a little bit. I think this is a team that's kind of ripe for the taking, and I kind of compare it to your Boston Celtics, right? They lost the finals a couple years before they won the finals, and I think they needed to go through that step, and I think Minnesota is just right there as well.
They are just so well coached too, where it's kind of one of those situations where if they buy in, they can keep going and then finally win. It's kind of one of those, not like they need a new coach or they needed a different situation there. I think they needed a few more pieces, and I like the Carrington move for that oomph, the extra oomph. And I'm kind of with you. At the beginning, I wanted to see a move or so be made. I wanted to see what Fisa was going to do this year. She's obviously popping off and is the heavy favorite to win MVP. And I think she's going to continue that into the playoffs. And I was with Doug with the Mercury for a bit, but now I'm back on board with the Lynx.
Awesome.
And speaking of which, they're 25-5 right now with 14 games left. Their total win line is set at 33.5 at Bet Rivers. Do you think they've got 9 wins left in them, or do you think between preparing for the playoffs and the FISA injury, they might take their foot off the gas?
So that's saying they got to go 9-6, right, in the last
Yeah,
15. I feel like that's really easy, Sarah. I mean,
yeah.
it seems like it's nothing is a lock when we're talking about sports betting, but that team, in terms of the way they run their offense, the system, like even if they have a down night without their best player, it's hard for a fringe team, let's say, the Wings or the Sky, to have enough firepower to really sustain with them. So I kind of like it. It feels a little fishy. I think that it's a little bit of overreaction with Collier's injury, but I wouldn't be surprised if they win, 11 or 12 of the next 15 games. They're that good. And you're going to start seeing it again. I haven't looked into the actual schedule that's remaining for them, but you're gonna see the haves and have-nots, right, moving forward. These teams that are out of playoff contention, they're really not gonna be motivated to try to win these games. Not saying they're tanking, not saying they're load management, but they're definitely not as motivated as the teams that are, positioning for the playoffs.
Yeah, and speaking of maybe tanking, maybe not, they face the Mystics tonight, and the Mystics are the other team that was heavily involved in the trade deadline this season. We'll get into some fun potential bets on that one in a minute, but where the Lynx decided to kind of go all in and acquire some needed depth for their playoff run, the bubble team-ish Mystics, if we want to call them that, went the other direction and focused on the future. So first, they sent Brittany Sykes, who's averaging 15.4 points and 4.4 assists per game, to the Seattle Storm in exchange for Alicia Clark, Seattle's 2026 first round pick, and Zia Cook, who was immediately waived. They also sent Aaliyah Edwards to the Sun for JC Sheldon. I mean, what are your thoughts on the Mystics basically punting on the season to kind of load up for the future?
I like it. I like it. I
Mhm.
mean, there's nothing worse in sports and team sports than being in the wheel of mediocrity, right? When we're talking about baseball that's playing 500 baseball, when we're talking about the NFL that's going, 9-8, when we're talking about the WNBA, it's being in the seats like 7 through 11. Like you don't want to be in that. And so it makes a lot of sense for me. And it makes a lot of sense that Washington did this. They love Citron, Sonia Citron, their rookie, and they're most likely going to build around her and some of the infrastructure around that. It was a win-win for Seattle. I think Seattle, this gives them, lessens the load on Skylar Diggins, and now allows that team to really go for it. I like Seattle moving forward in the playoffs a lot.
I'm with you on all of those points. I really think the value and the return for Sykes was great. Like I think that really sets up the Mystics for success. And like you said, with there are rookies in this core group, you can kind of see the potential for something great here in the next few years. So I like that they kind of were realistic about that. And I know JC Sheldon has said she kind of wanted out of Connecticut and wanted to have a bigger opportunity somewhere else. We'll see about that. I feel like there might be a reason why she doesn't get the minutes that she particularly wants, but I do want to see. All right, put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, I like that. I like when teams go for it, when they realize the window is open for them, because no window is guaranteed, right? Unless you're
Mhm.
Tom Brady in his peak, like you're gonna be in the playoffs for 10 years in a row. But outside of that, like no window is guaranteed. So if it's open for you now, you should definitely go for it. And I like that. Whether you're a fan or not a fan, I think when you see owners going for it, you gotta applaud their efforts.
And Bet Rivers currently has the Mystics missing the playoffs at minus 910. So their total wins line is 18.5, and they're currently 13-6 with 15 games left. They objectively got worse on purpose and clearly think they aren't making the playoffs. Do you think under 18.5 wins at minus 139 is intriguing at all?
I do, because they're gonna start sitting out some of their stars. I mean, they've already shipped out the starter. They're obviously their best player in Sykes, but you're going to see Citron, taking a night off. You're going to see, their other starters taking a night off. So I do like that spot a lot. Unfortunately, I haven't. Same with the Lynx, right? I haven't really delved deep into their remaining schedule, but as right now, my initial gut is, yeah, that feels right to me.
Yeah, I definitely want to start checking out kind of the rest of these schedules because you never know if it's the context here matters so much in the second half. Like, are you playing these teams that are kind of fighting for a playoff spot? Are you playing the Sparks? What are you doing? The Sparks are on the way up here. And I've been, I guess, as an aside, just loving watching Cam Brink get back at it. You can tell she's got the spark back.
Nice, nicely done there.
Yes. I didn't even
I would say yes. I'm definitely paying attention to the trends. You know, there's teams that are trending downs, and there are teams where their arrow is pointing up, and I think it's very intentional, right? Because like you know, it's been the theme of this show pretty much is the haves and the have-nots, and if you're in contention, you're gonna go for it. And the Sparks may not have made a big move at the or a big splash at the deadline, but getting Brink back was already huge. That was kind of like their move already, right? And I think the last time out, she had 5 block shots, which is
yeah.
amazing. She's a great defensive force, and I think the way that they play offensively, I think they're running and gunning and basically averaging 90 plus points the last 3 weeks. They're going to be a dangerous team to face. They may not win the whole thing, but they're going to be a thorn on someone's side for sure.
They're exciting to watch, and I saw the 5 blocks in 15 minutes compilation, and I mean, you can just tell she played volleyball too, just, like, looking at some of those, it's so entertaining to watch her, and Kelsey Plum, like her or hate her, she's going off, so I gotta give her props.
I like it.
Let's get to tonight's slate, and then we can discuss the Sparks more. We talk about the weekend slate. So we got the movers and shakers of the deadline up first with Lynx versus Mystics at 7:30 Eastern. The Lynx are heavy favorites, of course, with a minus 590 money line and a 10-point spread. Meanwhile, the total points line is set at 157.5. What's your read on this one?
It's not going to be an official play, but I actually like the Mystics in this one. Again, very contrarian when it comes to betting at my core. But the Mystics, we already mentioned it. They kind of cleaned house. They're not trying to lose these games, but they're definitely not trying to win these games, right? Whereas the Lynx, their offense is on fire. They're the best team in the W. I think they're 15-1 at home. They could end the season with only one loss, which would be a record for the WNBA. But the value, in my opinion, is on the Mystics because I think the Lynx will still win, but they're not trying to blow out teams at this point. Like they want to be healthy, right? With Nafisa out, they want to stay healthy, no more injuries, and just get these wins and pile these wins and move forward. And I think tonight is going to be indicative of that. I think they're going to control the game, and like my read is they're going to control the game the entire time. But are they going to try to win by 15 to 20 points? I don't think they care. I think they just want to get the W and then move on to the next team because they know the Mystics are, from a talent standpoint, not up to their level.
I think that's such an interesting philosophy and thought process there because I wouldn't expect that. But the more that you think about it, the play that mine's not an official play either, but I was going to do Kiki over 10 points at minus 182. I like the value there. And I feel like they kind of cleared space and gave her a huge vote of confidence with their deadline moves. They're saying, hey, we are really liking where your progression is headed, and we want to give you some time and space there. So I kind of had my eye on like a Mystics positive bet too.
Nice.
I'm not gonna go for it. My official bet's gonna be on, I think, Storm versus Aces, and we'll get to that one in a minute. But we'll do Liberty versus Wings first. So the Liberty are the favorites. There's an 8-point spread. The points total is set at 173.5. Are you thinking anything official here?
This one's interesting. No official play for me. I guess we're both going to have action on the next game, official action. But even though the Liberty have been playing a little bit better, they've won the last 2 games. The competition was horrible, right? They played the Sun and the Wings, and they're playing the Wings again tonight. So this is kind of like a nice, like 3 or 4 game, basically like bye week, because the Sun and the Wings are not going to really try. But even though they won the last 2 games, they didn't cover. There were 12-point favorites against the Sun. They ended up winning by 9. There were 12 points favorites against the Wings. They ended up winning by 11. So I'm not going to say the Wings are going to backdoor this game again, but I'm not betting this because it feels like a 50-50 coin flip. We know the Liberty are better. We know Sabrina's been on fire since Breanna Stewart's been out. But I'm just going to lay off of this. It might be an over game just because the previous game hit under, but not enough confidence to actually put an official bet down.
Right. That's my feeling on this game too. It's just this kind of mismatch could go in so many directions at this point in the season. And like you said, with this trend of the spreads, maybe not particularly covering, it's like we're kind of in the no man's land of, all right, teams might be starting to or not totally tank while you got teams gearing up for the playoffs. So that's kind of like a cautionary tale. I like to bet more on individual players during this time of year just because no matter what, people still want to hoop.
Very true. Like they're the people that, coaches are gonna put on the court, they're not actively tanking, right? Let's be
Mhm.
honest here. They're still trying their hardest. They're still trying to score and they're still trying to play defense. It's when they are, activated, it's how often they play, how much they play. That's where you get into the tanking, quote unquote tanking and load management. But yeah, if you're on the court, you're gonna try your hardest. And like I mentioned earlier, 80% of the league is they're free agents. So they're all auditioning for next season's, contract and beyond right now anyway. So I agree with you wholeheartedly there.
It's a great point too. We gotta keep the free agents in mind and see how that plays out. So keep following, liking, and subscribing to this show if you want to get our takes on that as those talks progress. Finally, we've got Storm versus Aces at 10 p.m. This should be a fun game of basketball with how close these teams are and what they need to do to build some confidence going into the playoffs. Looking at the odds at Bet Rivers, you could get some solid value with any of the game bets. What's your take here?
I like Seattle. It's gonna be my
Yeah.
official play. I know they're just 1 point underdogs, so you could either do the 1 point, points or do the money line and get a little bit more value there. I think Seattle comes out strong today. We talked about their move at the deadline and getting Sykes was a great decision, but they haven't won. I think they've lost the last 3 games, and so everybody thought it was going to be a bounce back opportunity against the Lynx without Fee. They ended up losing by 4 at the end. It was a coin flip ending. I like Seattle. I know they're on the road. I know sometimes it's hard to play Vegas with, all the off the court extracurricular activities that potentially they might be involved with. But Seattle is deep in a playoff positioning push right now, and I think Vegas with Asia and all of the talent around them, they still don't feel right. They are playing a lot better with Lloyd off the bench. I think they put Joel Lloyd on the bench 2 or 3 games ago, and they've played a lot better. Their offense is a lot more efficient, but I like Seattle in this one. Give me +1 or money line. It doesn't matter to me, but I like Seattle a lot.
I mean, I guess the money line is minus 105 and the spread is minus 110. So, I mean, you might as well just go with the money line, right?
Yes, yeah.
I like where your head's at with that too. And I think Sykes is going to come in and be such a weapon for them. I'm excited to see that scenario play out. I think they've needed kind of a dynamic player like that, like you said, to kind of help out Diggins. And I think that's something maybe the Aces could need too when you think about that. It's just like it's the Wilson show right now. Like you said, they've been better with Lloyd too. I think I'm going to do 20 plus points scored by Wilson at minus 195. I think that's pretty likely to happen. And she rarely leads me astray in times like these.
Yeah, I mean, it's always safe to bet arguably the best player in the league, right? I would say the only counter to that, and I'm not trying to talk you off of it, is NECA for Seattle does a lot, and if she makes Asia work a lot on defense, that might hurt her offense, or get in foul trouble, something like that. But no, Asia's been a beast in the last 2 to 3 weeks. She's carrying that team, to be honest, that entire franchise. Everybody has such high expectations for the Aces coming into the season. They've been up and down. They started off really slow, very disappointing, but it's been Asia, and rightfully so, right? She's the superstar. She's the Giannis. She's the Jokic of this team, and so she's put the entire team on her back, and she's been able to have the team play a lot better. I don't know if hopefully they hit something tonight. They hit a roadblock tonight because I do like Seattle a lot. I like this spot not only from a situational standpoint coming off 3 losses to Seattle Storm, but I think talent wise Las Vegas is overrated, whereas Seattle just added a huge piece.
Yeah, it's a great point. Adam Osimo here. I love your name. I love your dog picture. Thank you. We need to know a name for the dog too. But he just said it's Wilson's birthday and
Ooh.
it's minus 110 to be for her to be the leading scorer on her birthday. I think that's a good take. I kind of feel like the Storm are more of a complete team. And if anyone's going to lead the scoring, even with a loss, I think it's going to be Wilson. So I kind of like that. And that's even better value. So thank you. I'll put that one down as my official play.
That's awesome.
I do think the birthday, yeah.
Yeah, Adam Osimo is a regular on our shows, and so he has really good angles. That's smart. I had no idea it was her birthday. That could be good
Indeed.
or bad, to be honest. Maybe she went out last night.
She's sick of it. She's like, I cannot keep having this team on my back. Get me to the win. Get me to the wherever else you want to go in Vegas. We're gonna have a good time and forget about this stress. You know what? That's a good devil's advocate.
They're local, Sarah, so they don't go on the Strip. They're
It's
either
true.
Durango or Red Rocks or something like that, right?
I do like off strip locations, the Tiki Bar. I forget. I think it's called that. That one of my favorites in Vegas. I love it there. But I happy birthday, Wilson. I hope they don't let you down today. It is pretty brutal to watch and to play devil's advocate with that. I guess I'd also say, at what point does she get exhausted from doing everything that she's had to do?
I mean, she's at the peak of her powers, the prime of her career. Like this is expected out of her, like to produce like this and just to dominate like this. But yeah, it must be tiring because her teammates are not pulling their weight. And I don't think that's changing this season. I think, the roster has aged out kind of, and they're lacking a little bit of perimeter athleticism. They're not quick outside, like I love Chelsea Gray, but she can't guard anybody and she can't get around anybody anymore on offense. So, like, it's impossible to do her awesome no look passes or like amazing skip passes when the defender is still in front of you, right? So, um, that's a th I would say Chelsea Gray, again, big fan of hers, but I think that to me arguably is the biggest drop off from, the previous seasons. She may hit 1 or 2 really tough threes every now and then, but she's not a consistent performer anymore.
100%. I'm with you on that. And honestly, sometimes you just like look at Wilson on the bench and her body language
It's
about
so
the team. You can
frustrating.
tell.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Why wouldn't she be? Like,
yeah.
they should really help her out a little bit out there. But that's, I think she could go off on her birthday. So I'll jot that one down and I'll go in with you on the Storm money line. I think you made some good points. And I feel like there's so few teams that make big moves on these deadlines that the ones that do, they have a lot to prove. And I feel like Sykes has got to be kind of relieved to be in a better position than she was in.
Oh, yeah, she's gonna definitely be way more motivated, and I don't know her contract situation, but, you know, it wouldn't be too off base to say that she might be a free agent herself. So, if she gets a chance to play for a winning contending team and does well, it's gonna be a lot more money for her moving forward, so I think it's a win-win.
100%. If you want to take a little look at the weekend slate, because there are some intriguing games here too, I feel, let me see, Bet Rivers is where you should go to place your wagers, and that's where I'm going. We got Sparks and Valkyries. I mean, the Valkyries are kind of having a good push here when it comes to getting into the playoffs, and as are the Sparks. So that's going to be a really exciting game. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, this is interesting because these are 2. I know the Valkyries are a brand new franchise this year in the Bay Area and
Mm,
San Francisco, but these are 2 California teams, and they're gonna be rivals, starting this year for years to come. And so, I'm always looking at kinda like the historical narrative when I see, potential rivalry games, and right now, the Valkyries lead this series 2-1. So I
mhm.
fully expect the Sparks to tie it up, and they're much better now with Brink, and they know who they are. They're gonna play really fast and shoot a lot of threes. And although they're on the road and Golden State plays really well at home, I lean Sparks in that one just because I know they've been playing so much better.
I'm with you on that. I feel like I, for some reason, am a little like Sparks heavy with my betting, but it doesn't lead me astray. Like I've been doing the Cam Brink overs, and that has been fruitful for me. So kind of, I will definitely do one of those. Let's see what the Sparks to reach the playoffs right now. We got minus 148. Yes, so that's changed. Like that's it.
Oh,
It had been less likely before, so that's interesting. I think
yeah,
it's time for
yeah,
me
it
to do
changed.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it changed because I think the Sparks are on like a 2-game winning streak, and I think they've won
Mm,
4 of the last 5 or 4 of the last 6, whereas the Valkyries are opposite. The Valkyries have lost 2 in a row, so now they're tied in the standings, and I think the Sparks are the team that's moving in the right direction. We talked about Brink, but also the Valkyries lost a starter through injury themselves, and it can be argued that they were playing above expectations, in the beginning of the season, and now it's just going back to where they were supposed to be. A lot of people don't remember, even though They sell every single game, even though they have a great home court advantage. This is an expansion team. So, from a talent standpoint, from a depth perspective, they are limited compared to other teams.
It's kind of funny. The last time we talked, we were talking about how Golden State doesn't have that kind of it factor that I want to see, but then they won by like one before overtime. Like it's the night of. So you really never do know, but we need to see them establish kind of more of an identity because after that, you're right, 2 game losing streak. It's like they kind of struggle to keep it together when they need to most. So you're seeing the Sparks kind of trend up, like you said, and this is just going to be some fun basketball. It's my game of the week.
Should be good. And I mean, what's the spread on Bet Rivers for those 2 games for that game?
I'm trying to I'm trying to figure it out. I'm clicking on the the Bet Rivers website right now, but
It might
it's
be
only showing me
it
today.
might be close to pick 'em. I think Golden State's a
Yeah.
short underdog at home. I usually don't like short favorites, especially road favorites, so I don't like Sparks just from a principality standpoint. That's one of my betting principles, but we'll see how the 3 games end tonight, and it's not like the games tonight will determine how I bet tomorrow night, but it definitely plays a factor. And so if, for example, all 3 home teams dominate tonight, right? I don't expect that
Mhm.
to continue tomorrow night. So those are the things, recent or small little trends that I focus on.
Right. That's a great insight. And it's good to think about, especially after the trade deadline, where it's like, all right, this is kind of where teams are showing themselves for what they want to do in the future, whether that's making the playoff push, establishing some confidence and dominance headed into the playoffs, or kind of, all right, the number one pick is looking good next year. So we'll see where everybody's at. To lock in our official plays of tonight, I will be doing I liked Adam. I'm going to go in Adam's direction and birthday girl top score at -110 instead of 20 plus points scored by Wilson. And you're going to do,
Seattle money line. So Seattle
yeah,
money line at Bet Rivers is -105. It's pretty much a pick 'em. I like Seattle on the road tonight.
I do too. I think I will end up doing that as well. So there's 2 from us. And thank you, Adam, for weighing in and giving me mine because I feel like that's the value there. And that's our very smart listeners. Thank you for listening to us and giving us some ideas. And Albert, thanks for joining me today. Thanks for everyone for tuning in to another episode of Betting Weekly Fast Break. Feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. And I hope everybody has a great weekend.